shoot the player with the earth element, right, and they are in the air, they will not take damage until they hit the ground. Then they'll take the damage, which is 1.5 hearts to a soldier, which is like the notable counter, right?
Yeah.
The only other issue though is that if you shoot it above or below a player and make them fall down, right, and don't actually hit the arrow, they will take no damage from the earth element. So it's purely a crowd control ability at that point.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, you're not actually hitting the player itself with the arrow.
Yeah.
You're using the crowd control ability, part of the ability, which in that sense I don't really care about the damage.
Yeah, I see that. There's been a lot of...
Yeah.
I think it's also another, kind of a benefit to being accurate with your shots. If you want to hit that player with the arrow, then you'll hit the player with the arrow.
Well, one thing I've seen a lot, and I think I saw it a couple times in the comments on the elf thread, actually, is possibly adding some kind of stun to the earth element when it hits the player, like on the ground, for like a second or something.
Yeah.
But
that would be interesting, but
that in my opinion is where the earth spam does become a problem, because that eliminates that window.
You could put a cooldown on the stun portion of it, right? You could like...
Well, we could increase the cooldown to fire it and then add the stun, yeah.
Well...
you could just add that delay that you were talking about before.
Or like every 3 earth elements, it stuns.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think it doesn't need the stun with the earth element, with the ability to spam.
Yeah.
I think
one or the other, not both.
The stun, like, the amount of damage you can take in, like, a second and a half, which I think is, like, what was suggested from, like, a ninja or something, and, like, not being able to move is, I think, honestly too much.
Yeah, well, with 1.5 seconds, you can hit potentially 3 times.
1.5, what?
You can get 3 because there's a half-second delay.
Well, it's 5 per 3 is the hit timer. 5 times per 3 seconds. So, yeah, you have around 3 to 4 if there's multiple people hitting.
There's a half second invincibility period as well.
It depends whether you, like, hit them right at the start or not. But, yeah.
It depends, but it's up to 3 hits, which is about, I think,
from a ninja onto a soldier, that's a lot.
27 parts of damage.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Not factoring in
armor, which is again still a big part, but 3 hits from a ninja will completely change. That's 2 stake.
That would make you lose 2 stake instantly.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which for soldiers.
And that's assuming they stop. They don't get a 4th hit off maybe when as soon as you're coming out.
And that's also assuming you don't get hit by the earth element one more time, which means you are either out of stake or dead.
Trapped again.
Yeah. I think, honestly, if the buggy interactions with earth element are fixed, because, like, there are some times where it will not go off, and we need to figure out why that is. Like, you'll fire a fully charged earth element and nothing will happen, right? If we can figure out why that is, I think earth element is... Honestly, I think it's I think it's the strongest element, actually, to be honest.
I mean, you can use pure element and it will do a lot of damage. Expand several earth elements, but
earth element is like a consistent AoE that's like should be almost guaranteed to hit. Isn't at the moment due to a bug, but
in the sense of PvP, it's the strongest element.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then we move on to air element.
Yeah, the wind element. So I think the flying part of it is where it should be at the moment.
I mean, people are not going to be firing off many, air elements at other people with the intention of knocking them off.
Yeah, well, I think, like, the punch ability, it was previously, well, when Elf first came out, right? I believe Elf was able to get restored by Medic for arrows, and Wind Element only took 1 arrow, right? And Elf capping was, there was almost no way to stop it, right? Because you'd grab the flag, fly halfway across the map, get healed by a Medic, fly the entire other half, right?
Provided you were playing in F5, you could block any headshot coming your way as well.
Yeah, which was, like, incredibly OP. And I think you can fly across, like, if you take a sponge, like, for example, Skyworld's on the server right now. If I take a sponge on Skyworld, the front sponge, I can fly all the way over to the enemy bridge as Elf with my arrows.
And avoid fall damage as well.
And avoid fall damage and block headshots midair. I think that the wind element, as far as the punch aspect goes, is fine. The aspect I'd like to focus on is the right click, though, because at the moment, it's just a like shittier Mage Lightning,
It-
which
it's
I really don't
pathetic.
like.
You have to be accurate with it. It does barely anything.
I really don't like. I mean, okay, swords and armor are like a different thing because like every class has to have like some kind of weapon or armor. But other than that, I don't like one class having just like a worse ability than another class has.
It's just pathetic. I mean,
Yeah.
the max you're gonna do is about 2 hearts of fall damage, and that's if you're lucky.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Say I'm playing a map that doesn't have like open void, right?
Yeah.
Why would I pick elf over say a class like mage? Like
Because
literally
you're
ever.
gonna get more fall damage, and you're still not gonna knock people into the void anyway. But I mean, at least you're gonna get a lot of damage.
Yeah, the one thing that you can do with Wind Element is, if you're playing on a map like, say, Skyworlds, which is on right now, you can knock people, like, soldiers or something, just above the Void and then Earth Element them, but that requires, like, a lot of practice and is pretty hard to do in, like, an actual game.
In a proper situation, especially when if the people are equally skilled and know what they're doing,
Yeah.
know that they're gonna do it, and deliberately avoid that path.
I don't know what we can do with Earth right click, or Wind right
I mean,
click.
the only real option would be to buff it and make it do more knockback, but then essentially you're just making it
Again, still a shittier Mage Lightning.
Mage's knockback lightning without
Yeah.
power, so it's forever going to be
So-
weaker than.
Here's an idea. There used to be an old HD kit that was called Vacuum. It was removed because it was insanely overpowered for HD as a game mode. But essentially what it did is you would right-click in an area, and for like 5 seconds it would pull players within like a 5-block radius to that block, right?
Yeah.
If we made
that-
it so like Wind Element, for example, if I shot it in an area, anyone that walks past there gets like pulled in. And like they wouldn't be
like
stuck, but they
vacuum.
get like pulled in for like a couple seconds. That could be interesting.
Yeah, and it would give it more of a support
Yeah.
aspect, which
And-
a lot of us
Yeah.
could see.
Say for example, like shifting blocked it or something, right? So that I can't just like shoot it off like by the void and people get pulled in, right? If they shift, they won't do it. But if you're like running away as a flag carrier, that's a good way to like stall someone or like just pull them back a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Plus,
I really like
mean,
that idea.
Plus, I mean, you could work in a team situation where you can pull them into a specific spot, waiting for people to
Headshot.
or pull them backwards as well.
Yeah, well, you could pull them into a spot where like you could say like, okay, like say I'm playing like Skyworlds with UKS, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pull this person in here, right? Like fire an arrow, like when I fire my Wind Element, when they come out of the flag room, they're gonna get pulled into this area or something, right?
Yeah,
And that's a lot more consistent than like Mage Lightning when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And you could also, that would combo really well with Mage actually, because that would allow Mage to land stuff like Freeze Spell too. And
Yeah, that would be really good. I
that
think.
that would make it pretty strong as a support class, I think.
when working with other classes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's fundamental.
I will write that down, I think, because I just, like, literally just came up with that idea. But,
Originally, I thought of possibly a slow being involved with the wind element, to enemies, but then that's kind of what the earth
I mean,
element
that's
is for.
kind of-
I mean, yeah, earth element.
I think that's kind of like, it's kind of counteracting your own point because you're trying to knock them away and then giving them slowness.
Right.
well, yeah, yeah, so, like, with the Wind Element, I mean, it doesn't have to, have a defined thing. Like, the wind can pull them, it could be like a little tornado or something, you know?
Yeah.
Or like a,
As long as it's involving wind, I don't
Yeah.
think it matters.
it'll be a little, Yasuo tornado, you know? Hasagi,
Oh,
pull them in. Yeah. The next element, water element, this is the one where this is the one I'm really interested in because I have an
There's
idea
all
that,
stuff you can do with it.
yeah, I have an idea too.
alright, so,
I mean, there are lots of different ways you can. Just looking at it at the moment, it's a mess. It puts out
it's
fire.
incredibly weak.
It is so stupid. I have almost never seen it used in matches besides the elf being away in a distance, and
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
not
this-
what you want.
It's almost
I mean, this is where we
impossible.
get to-
Oh,
This
sorry?
is where we get to. We know that this class was designed purely to counter other classes.
Do
because
you
there's
have that
no-
winner? I don't want to get that
Oh,
while
sure.
recording. Yeah.
Is it recording still?
No, there's a hacker, and I didn't want to like have to go into poop
Yeah,
and
I
like
got
ban
it,
him while
I got
recording,
it.
so I asked winner. Yeah.
We just
So-
got it.
With the actual water element, a lot of people have said bring it up to instant cast, and yeah, that's a good idea. But in the flag room, just holding down instant cast, get rid of all the arrows. Power is going to be completely useless. Yes, it should counter power,
If there's an elf,
but it shouldn't make it
if there's an
useless.
elf on in a team, Pyro's useless.
So I think
You-
instead it should be
Which-
instant cast, but to a decent cooldown, so kind of like mage.
Well, what you were just talking about right there is the problem that I like stressed earlier is that like buffing an ability that's made to directly counter another class is like a really tricky slope.
Makes the class useless. I mean, look, imagine the Pyro Saber for Frenzy, uses the Frenzy, sets everyone on fire, you just instant water element. And
Well,
you just
Chaos, you're an archer, man. So, like, say, like, we buffed Elf to the point where, like, Elf was the premier